Hey guys, thanks for joining me for episode 9 of the Chile Ride series here on the Spanish Dojo channel, which documents my cousins and my motorcycle adventure across the country of Chile in January of 2020. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Remember that this series is available in both English and Spanish, so if you prefer, solo haz clic aquí arriba para ver este episodio en español. Last time around, we had ridden out of the Aysén region of Chile, crossed the Argentine border, briefly skirted the southern edge of the Chubut province, and then covered the northern half of the Santa Cruz province. We'll now spend this whole episode crossing the rest of this same Santa Cruz province before crossing back over the Chilean border. This is still part of Argentine Patagonia, so the landscape and climate will pretty much be the same. There are some beautiful views of several glacier-fed lakes and rivers, but outside of that, the landscape is fairly inhospitable. Expect wide open spaces, a drier climate, and relentless winds. We last left you on January 22nd as we were making our way south on Route 40 from Perito Moreno. You'll recall that we had stopped along the way for a photo op at Estancia La Lucha. It was about another 140 miles from that stop to the town of Tres Lagos, so we decided to shoot for that by the end of the day. There was actually a detour we could have taken via Route 29, which would have knocked about 15 miles off, but we really needed to fuel up, so we stayed on Route 40, which took us to a gas station in this little town called Gobernador Gregores, or Governor Gregores. Plus, we weren't sure what the condition of Route 29 would have been anyway. As you can see, there was a bit of gravel to ride through in order to leave town, but it wasn't too bad. It only ended up being 2 or 3 miles worth, and then it turned back into pavement. The real crucible began about 35 miles down the road at the junction between Route 40 and Route 29. Here, the winds got stronger, a storm loomed on the horizon, and the road turned into deep, loose gravel as far as the eye could see. This was the worst gravel yet. It was so bad that we ended up determining that the dirt next to the road was most likely safer than the road itself. So, we ditched the highway and headed off-road. Eventually, we came to a point where there was no way forward without getting back on the main road. But we were able to take a break along the way and check out Lago Cardiel, Lake Cardiel, so that was a nice respite. The road continued to be windy, bumpy, unstable, and just generally inhospitable for the entire trek. We finally hit pavement after 45 miles of merciless gravel. It took us 3 whole hours to get through all that rock. Even though this stretch was shorter than the 65-mile run at the border the previous day, it took the same amount of time because the surface was even worse. Plus, the strong crosswinds made maneuvering more difficult. One good thing was that the expected storm never materialized, so that helped. We made it to Tres Lagos before the close of the day. The name of the town means three lakes, and if you take a look at this satellite image, you'll see that it's obviously named for the three glacier-fed lakes immediately to the west. In town, we found a small grocery store as well as a campground where we could spend the night and have access to bathrooms and showers for a total of 300 Argentine pesos, which is about $5. There was no indoor kitchen and dining area, but they had these little outdoor eating areas set up, which suited us just fine. We set up camp and cooked up some dinner to relax and finish out January 22nd. On this day, we had first covered a 187-mile stretch from our last campsite at Perito Moreno to Estancia La Lucha, followed by another 140-mile run from that point to this campground at Tres Lagos, making a grand total of 327 miles along Argentina's Route 40 for the day. The next day, January 23rd, we continued south from Tres Lagos. This section of Route 40 takes you right next to two of the three glacier-fed lakes that the town is named for. The pale blue one to the north is Lago Viedma, or Lake Viedma, and the darker blue one to the south is Lago Argentino, or Argentine Lake. This one is Lago Viedma, note the pale blue color. We'll see Lago Argentino a little farther down the road. The river off to the left is Rio La Leona, or the Lioness River, which flows out of Lago Viedma, so it has the same color to it. We decided to stop for a quick photo op in front of Rio La Leona. This is Lago Argentino, or Argentine Lake, which is the darker blue lake from the image shown earlier. It comes complete with its own Watch for Guanacos sign. Here we're crossing that same Rio La Leona that flows out of Lago Viedma, only here it now flows into Lago Argentino. The pale blue color of Rio La Leona actually mixes with the deeper blue of Lago Argentino way off in the distance there, although it may be hard to see from this perspective. The river coming up here is Rio Santa Cruz, which flows back out of Lago Argentino and then heads east, eventually reaching all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. This is the junction between Route 40 and Route 11. Route 11 heads due west up into the mountains and glaciers, while Route 40 continues south toward our destination. We followed these switchbacks up the mountain. The road surface wasn't bad, especially given what we had fought through the previous day, and the scenery was nice, but the winds were brutal. We came upon this overlook called El Monito, or the Monkey, which was pretty cool. And since we're gluttons for punishment, of course we decided to take this precarious little trail up an incline and out into the unforgiving winds. Route 40 continues heading south, however this is where we peeled off to make our way toward the Chilean border to the west. We've covered our 140-mile trek from Estancia La Lucha to Tres Lagos to round out January 22nd, as well as the current day's 240-mile run from our campsite at Tres Lagos to the Chilean border, for a total of 380 miles covered in this episode. Except for the occasional gas detour, we stuck almost exclusively to Route 40. The Argentine Customs Office is actually just under a mile up this little gravel road at Paso Rio Don Guillermo. Rather than being stationed in the same building like at our previous crossing 2 days prior, Argentine and Chilean customs at this crossing are about 5 miles apart, each stationed at its own side of the border. The process was fairly simple, and the Argentine agents were all very friendly. It's still January 23rd, and my neck is sore from the brutal Argentine crosswinds, but we're now ready to cross back into Chile, where we'll finish out our trip in the next installment, which is the final episode of this series. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Once again, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Click up here to continue with the next episode of the Chile Ride series in English, or if you would like to practice your listening comprehension by rewatching this same episode in Spanish, solo haz clic aquí abajo para volver a ver este mismo episodio en español.